Hi everyone! So this year we're going to be doing a lot of math online, and we're going to use a program called Desmos for a good amount of it. If you've used Desmos before, great. If you haven't, I'm going to kind of show you how in this video. So first thing, to get to any Desmos activity, you're going to get through it from our Google Classroom. So Desmos is linked to Google Classroom, so I will just assign things directly from Desmos to your Google Classroom, and you'll go on there under the classwork tab and you'll find the assignment and you'll click on it. And when you do that, you'll end up at a screen that looks like this, and you should at that point already be signed in with your school account because it's linked directly to Desmos and to Google Classroom. But if it's not, you might end up with a screen like this, and then you'll just sign in with Google and make sure that you sign in with that school account. Okay, so you make sure you want to sign in. The reason you want to sign in is because it'll save all of your work, and if it's graded, it'll populate to Google Classroom, and it makes everything a lot easier. So you'll sign in, make sure it's your name, and you'll hit go. Every assignment might look a little bit different, but I just kind of wanted to show you how to show your work, type your math, all things like that. I'll try my best to make the directions pretty clear. So here you'll see that there's directions up at the top that say find the sum or difference for each problem. Here your problems are listed, and then you have two options to show your work. You can either type your work in the first box, so that would be this one here, or you can sketch your work down here on the sketch pad. The sketch pad might be a little bit easier if you have a tablet or you have a touchscreen computer, but just in case you don't have those, it might be easier to type your work. And Desmos is really nice. If you click on this square root symbol, they give you a box to do some math type. So you can either just type with your keyboard, or if you have some fancier things that you need, you can open the keyboard that they give you, and you can put in exponents. You can put in an exponent of 2, so like 3 squared, things like that. Fractions, the alphabet, some functions here that you might not need for this course. If you're Algebra 1, for Algebra 2, we might need some of these. So it gives you lots of options, which is really nice for showing your work, which is going to be different this year because normally we're used to writing math, so we've got to get used to typing it or sketching it out on things like Desmos. So, and then over here you'll see that it says put your answer for number 1 in the box below. So you would just go to this box, and you can either, again, type it with your keyboard, or, again, you can just use the keyboard that Desmos gives you to type. So for these two problems, there's really not much work to show, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to type my answers in and hit submit. You can submit here too, your work, and you'll click next to get to the next screen. And you can see here that there are 9 slides. That doesn't mean there are 9 problems. Sometimes I put multiple problems on one page, but there are 9 pages to go through. Here, working with fractions, it's going to require a little bit more work. So if you prefer to type your work, especially for showing fractions, you're going to click the math type. If for some reason the keyboard doesn't come up like mine just did, you'll just click the keyboard button, and then to type a fraction, you'll see this A over B. So you'll click that, and you'll type 1. To get to the denominator, you can either click the denominator, or you can click the down arrow to get that, and then you can either type it on your keyboard that they give you, or you can type it on your physical keyboard. So that's the original problem. I like when you copy down the original problem. And then in my next step, I want to show common denominator. So in order to do that, I know I need to multiply by 2 over 2. So I'm going to type the 2 over 2. I'm going to type the multiplication symbol, and then I'm just going to retype my original problem. Also, you can type a fraction from your regular keyboard. It's 5 slash, and when you type the slash next to the shift key, typically, it'll bring you into a fraction. So that's that. And then you'll just keep working down to get this. And when you add them together, that's your answer, and you'll put that in the box. Same thing, you can please type your fractions into the box. You can also, again, sketch it if you prefer that method of showing your work. So I'm going to multiply both sides by, or sorry, not both sides, but the top and bottom here by 2 over 2. So it ends up being 2 over 4 plus 5 over 4, as we saw above, is 7 over 4. So those are some different means to showing your work with fractions. You can also type your work to solve an equation. Again, I really prefer you copy down the original problem and then manipulate it from there. So to solve this, I would need to show that I'm multiplying both sides by 5. So I'm going to do 5 times, and then I'm going to type my fraction, and then negative 10 times 5, and then that ends up being x equals negative 50. You'll get better with this with more practice, and I can help you as much as I can. But typically my help will be through a video or on Zoom or something like that. Again, if that's not really working for you, sketch it out. Now, if you don't have the best handwriting on paper, I don't know how good it'll be when you sketch, so maybe typing is better. Just try to make your work as clear as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect, but the more work you show, the better off you will be. We can combine like terms as well, so I can put all of this in here. This is nice, there's no exponents or fractions, so I kind of just go by step. And then I would type my answer here. Don't forget about that -8. Again, if you're a sketcher, you would copy down the problem, which gets a little annoying depending on how long it is. And when you sketch, you can actually change your colors. So sometimes that helps people identify like terms. I know sometimes students like to draw these arrows when they're combining their like terms. Whatever works for you. Again, to me, the work is more important than the answer. The answer is important, but really, I want to know how you got there and if you understood how to get there. So that's why showing your work is really, really important for my classes. Exponents, that's why I want to show you this problem. So you can do like order of operations here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but if I wanted to, simplify some of the top and simplify from some of the bottom, to simplify 5 to the third, I know that that's 125, but if you wanted to show that out, I would use I can type 5, and then this a to the b key will bring me to a exponent, and then I can show that this is 5 times 5 times 5, and that's 25 times 5, and that's 125. Also, that could just be something that you know. But just wanted to show you how to type exponents. You can also just type your base, which in this case would be 5, and on your actual physical keyboard, if you click Shift-6, there's a little arrow button up, and it'll bring you to the exponent. You can type anything you want in there. So that's how you would type some exponents. We could go through and simplify all of this, but we don't have to. I think hopefully you're getting the hang of this. Desmos is nice because you can also graph. Depending on what I ask you to do, you can actually type equations into a graphing calculator, sort of, and I can ask you a bunch of questions about it. I can give you a completed graph, or you can graph stuff yourself. So here it wants you to plot some points. So to plot a point, you find your coordinate, and then you can just click, and it'll create a circle for you. Or if you prefer to actually like draw a dot, you just kind of scribble around, and it'll create a dot. And it says connect them with a straight line. That's this option here. And I would just create a line. Pretty simple. There's other things that I might have you do. This is a matching game, so I would match the graph to the inequality. You can order things. It can ask you to put things in a certain order. In this case, it's asking for least to greatest. So this is assessing your number sense. And last but not least, one of the things I can ask you to do is sort of justify and explain stuff instead of physically showing some work. So here they give you an inequality and they ask you how kind of to explain how they get from one step to another. So the first thing is, how did they get from here to here? And I believe the way they got there is by subtracting 4x from both sides. And then in this time, they tell you that they subtracted 2 from both sides from here. So what did you end up with? And to get my inequality, I'm going to type x, and then on my keypad, I can select the less than symbol, and this would be 2. So then you can always go over here, and you can sign out and exit your activity. You can see your previous activities. So if you signed out and exited the activity, submitted it, whatever you needed to do, you could do that. And if you were to sign back in, you would be able to see what you just worked on. You could go back and edit things if you needed to. And that's how we're going to use Desmos. If you have any questions, please do not be afraid to send me an email or a comment on Google Classroom or whatever you need to do.